Tallulah, sweetheart. She wore a draping dress with pale pink flowers on it, the fabric stretched taut over her belly. I let her envelop me in a hug. Tears rolled down my cheeks. She patted my back. "It's okay," she said, though we both knew it wasn't. She put her arm around my waist and marched me into the kitchen, where she filled the kettle with water. The weather was far too hot for tea, but the chill of the air conditioning indoors seemed to make space for it, and the death of the family matriarch called for chamomile. Aunt Christine moved with utter assuredness, as if the news of Grandma Helen's death had come with a set of instructions. Sipping our tea at the kitchen table, the two of us could have passed for sisters. She was only 6 years older than me. A surprise baby, born after Grandma Helen thought her years of childbearing were over. I had been a less welcome surprise, conceived before my mom even finished high school. My hair hung longer than Aunt Christine's, bleached a brighter blonde by the sun, and my skin held a deeper tan for the same reason. But the oval shape of our faces, the thin lips, the arching, nearly invisible eyebrows, in those ways, we were almost identical. She pulled the tea bag from her mug and dropped it in the trash, leaning over her belly to see that it landed true. Still moving with that sense of purpose, she rummaged around until she found Grandma Helen's address book, an ancient thing with a row of gold letters on little black tabs. She flipped to the D tab, marked her place with a manicured finger, and dialed. "Lizzie," she said, "it's Christine, Helen's daughter. I'm afraid I have some sad news. There's been an accident." Her voice cracked a little as she explained, repeating what the sheriff had told me. I stared at the untouched mug, growing cold in my hands, and listened as she called a dozen people, explaining over and over about the accident. I grew more skeptical every time I heard that word. Grandma Helen had convinced me, after I graduated from Victorville High, not to go off to college like my friends. She even gave me a small raise for my work on the ranch, and at first I gloated about making money while all my friends took on debt. But as time went by, and I saw online that they were making their way in the world while I continued to do the same shit I'd done for years, I got antsy. I applied for a job with the Forest Service, but didn't say anything about it to Grandma Helen. Not until they asked me to come in for an interview. When I did break the news, she dropped her fork mid-meal and left the room. We didn't even argue. I cleaned her plate along with mine and reminded myself that I'd known she would be upset. It would pass. Her objections ticked up a notch after I passed the physical exam for the job. She stubbornly insisted that she needed me on the ranch. When I argued she could hire someone to do my job, and for less, she grew sullen, hardly speaking to me for days. It wasn't until my final acceptance letter arrived, telling me I'd been temporarily assigned to a fire prevention hand crew in Montana, that her anger boiled to the surface and we argued about it. And the very next day, there I was, sipping tea and listening to my aunt inform everyone of the accident that had taken Grandma Helen's life. Accident my ass. She had wanted me to stay, and when I said no, she put everything in my hands and bailed, knowing I was the only one who could run the ranch in her absence. It was a dirty trick. 3 days passed in a flurry of activity. I kept my head down and my opinions to myself through meetings with the funeral director and with Grandma Helen's lawyer. No one was terribly surprised to learn that she'd left the ranch to me. None of her 3 children had any interest in it. Still, everything had to be made official. Paperwork had to be signed, and local acquaintances needed to know when and where we would be mourning, as if these things followed a schedule. While Aunt Christine arranged everything, I struggled to keep up with the work on the ranch by myself. The flock could lay